probably where I had my biggest, breakthrough in this whole team building process is where I took a step back and got out a notepad and really just put pen to paper to define who I am at a core level and what's important to me.
Holy smokes, this is freaking exciting. This is Craig Zuber here with Jordan Clark out of North Carolina. Super excited to have you here, Jordan. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Craig, thanks for the opportunity to jump on the show.
Absolutely, man. So you're out of North Carolina, out of Raleigh, is that right?
That's correct. The Triangle region of North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill.
Love it. All right. And you've been in the business for how long?
Been at it for 10 years now. Come from a family of real estate agents. My brother's been at it for about 20. My dad's been doing it for 15.
Love it, man. So you're the leader of the Clark real estate team. Is that true?
That's right.
Yep. And in 2021, you did just about $64 million in production, $1.5 million in gross commission, and just under 200 units. Did I get that right?
That's right. Yep. Record-breaking year for our group, as I'm sure it was for many of your clients and people listening into the show today.
Yeah, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Recognized also as one of the top agents in the Carolinas. Just super excited to have you, man. It's go time, baby. Let's just get right in and talk about what you're winning at and traits that make you great, and maybe a few things that will just help people take action and make their business better. What do you think about that?
That sounds great. I'm an open book. Ask anything you want.
I love that. How about let's just focus on you just for a second.
Sure.
Right at the fact of like what makes you really great at what you do. What makes you badass at what you do, Jordan?
Sure. Self-described. I would say extremely optimistic. Bring a lot of positive energy and a strong mindset to the table. And by others, I've been told that I can be very influential in getting people excited about whatever I'm excited about at the moment and getting them to take action on it.
That's phenomenal. Awesome, man. Anything else that sets you apart?
No, I would say, just the main thing is being growth minded. We've achieved a level of success and I don't feel like it. I always feel like I'm pushing and striving and growing to become a better version of myself, for my team, for my family, for my community. And so just extremely growth minded, into a lot of podcasts, into a lot of books, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching and training and seminars over the year. And I think it's just an accumulation of grabbing bits and pieces of information, either for mindset or tactical strategies that have, got us to where we're at today.
Yeah, I would just fill that in, man, just to say super growth minded and coachable is one of the top traits that I see in you. I've had the opportunity to work with you over the years, and that explosive growth that you've had and some of the lessons that you've learned have been exciting to watch and super exciting.
There's been many lessons.
Well, let's just jump into that. Give us some of the toughest lessons that you've learned in your role or in your career.
Yeah, I would say, early on, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that when you're looking at evaluating people to join your organization, that you shouldn't try to save people. One of the main, filters that we run, candidates through the interview process of joining our team, and it's a really powerful question, is this person going to be thriving in life 1 year from now with or without me? And, as I look back to some of the early hires, that we brought on, it was just about growth and adding a team member. And my mindset is, hey, look, I know these scripts, I know what to do, I know what to say. This person seems competent. And so essentially I'm just going to, tell them what to do and tell them what to say. And And that math problem, is going to be infinitely reproducible. And boy, was I wrong. There's so much more to it than that. And so, I brought people along over the years that, were nice people, good people, presented themselves well, and were good communicators. But ultimately, there's internal forces that need to be present in order to, have somebody come into your organization and, produce up to our levels of standards, which I've told are pretty high compared to some of the other team leaders around. So basically, you can't save anyone. Gary Keller tells us that we don't create success. We simply latch on to it, right? So it's basically bringing people into your organization that are in alignment with your core values, that are in alignment with how you define your culture, and then helping, to develop, those people. I think while I was going through that growing pains of, figuring out leadership, figuring out hiring, figuring out recruiting, that, there were some misfires along the way with, bringing people in that maybe shouldn't have been there. And, one of the quotes that resonates with me is that success is, especially when you're, producing at the level that we are, and then to the level that we want to go, is that success is through others and not around them. And so I found when I had those people in the organization that weren't a good fit and ultimately that didn't work out, that instead of, taking swift action, which is what we do now, you'd let them hang, you'd let them linger. And as a leader, you'd be frustrated and irritated because, they weren't operating in alignment with the standards that we've set for ourselves and the culture of our business. And so to make up for that, the answer for me at the time was just more hustle, more growth, personally, to make up for the soft spots that were in the business, because we didn't make the right decision. And so, in those times where I was frustrated or discouraged and the business, wasn't working the way that I wanted it to, for me, the quickest path to turn things around was just to double down on my own personal efforts instead of, fixing the problem. And so ultimately what I was doing is trying to succeed around them instead of through them. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the business. Also, too, to shift gears a little bit, this was like early on in the very beginning stages of me, forming the team, getting some momentum, and having to seek out leverage in my business just due to service standards and sheer growth. If I could do it all over again, I would have really slowed down and asked myself the end game, right? Like what do I want my business to look like? I guess beginning with the end in mind, and just slowing down a little bit more. By nature, I'm a sales and marketing guy, and so I went outside of the model in the early years of building a team, and instead of doing what is prescribed in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is hiring administrative staff and then hiring more administrative staff, I hired salespeople instead of hiring administrative staff, and that worked. We put more sales on the board, but we didn't have any real administrative infrastructure to help service those clients and manage the chaos that was going on in our business. And so ultimately I was the one that had to take on that chaos. And, that led to, some pretty intense years of work hours and, not having a good work-life balance. I remember in probably the first couple of years of growing the business, it was a lot of working 7 days a week, working, 16 hours a day, falling asleep on the couch at night at 2 or 3 a.m. because I was having to fill that void for my sales team members when it came to the administrative processes, maintaining my levels of service standards for the clients that we were serving. And it was completely unnecessary. Had I done things by the model and built out that administrative infrastructure, I could have foregone a lot of pain and heartache and unnecessary stress that was in my business. So I would say one is just following those models and getting your admin infrastructure in place. If I could do it all over again, obviously would have hired that first administrative assistant, but then my second hire would have been another administrative assistant. And to preserve more of the profit in the business, I likely would have explored a showing agent model and been the front man for working with both buyers and sellers in the business with 2 administrative people before I brought on any salespeople into my organization, which of course, takes a big hit to your cost of sale and ultimately your income.
Well, yeah, man. So if I was to summarize all that, it sounds to me like, okay, one, we need to slow down.
Yep.
Figure out where we're going, why we're going there, who we need in order to get there. 2, potentially, who's my ideal team member, right? Put the infrastructure in place. Who is my ideal team member? Because the clearer that you get with who you need, the simpler it can become, right? So is it the work ethic? Is it the drive? Are they coachable? Is it that they're intelligent? So it's knowing exactly the characteristics of who you actually need. The other thing I heard is, for the most part, we can create urgency in others. We're not able to create motivation in others, right? So if you have the wrong people that aren't motivated in order to succeed, sometimes ego gets in the way and we think that we can get this done, and it's just not true, right? It's just not true.
Yeah, I'm a hard driving, super motivated, self-motivated person. And to me, it's like, all right, there's infinite income earning opportunities out here. And for me, it was the pursuit of more and more of that. But not everybody's wired that way. And certainly the people that I aligned with early on in my business weren't. And it took me a while to learn the lesson that, the people on your team are not you, right? And if they were, they very well could be your competitor in your marketplace instead of looking to join and align with your team. Probably where I had my biggest, breakthrough in this whole team building process is where I took a step back and got out a notepad and really just put pen to paper to define who I am at a core level and what's important to me. And observing back to, most of my headaches in the early stages of growing the business, it's just, not that they weren't great people. It's just that they had different core values than I did and had a different view of the world. And when I defined who I was and what was important to me and got that out on paper and started using that as a filter for who we brought onto the team, how decisions were made in the organization once somebody was on the team, and basically, where we draw the line in the sand, that's when I really got some momentum and got around my tribe. And my business became fun again. I was avoiding, at times going into the office because I didn't have the right team members on the board, and team members were just, irritating me because they didn't embody the same belief system that I did, the same core values that I did. And so I cleaned house, and, that stuff as a business owner, nobody tells you this, but that stuff weighs on you, outside of work hours. It's not just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but when you're passionate and you care about your business and you care about the impact that you're making as much as our group does, if you got somebody that's outside of alignment from that, for me, that's something that I was taking home to my family. That's something that I was thinking about, nights and weekends, and it was impacting, my quality of life. It was impacting my health. It was impacting my overall well-being. And once I figured out how important that was, we live and die by that culture and by those standards now. And so do it all over again, it would have been to do that as quickly and as upfront as possible to define that culture, set those standards, and most importantly, enforce those standards. Make sure that everybody has, crystal clear expectations of what their job description is. And, bringing clarity around all of that, I think, has brought a lot of power to what we do and has made my business fun and enjoyable to work in, because now I'm doing life with my tribe when I go to work. And, that hadn't always been the case. There was years there where we're putting up a bunch of sales and we're making a bunch of money, but I wasn't having fun anymore. I was having fun in the early stages when it was just myself, because I had complete control over my environment and my mindset. And once you start bringing these other pieces into it, it can really, throw you off track. And that certainly happened to me. And so there was a few years in the come up phase when, by the world standards, we were doing really good, but I didn't like what I had built. I didn't like going into the office and being around, those people that shouldn't have been in the organization to begin with. And so once we got clear on that, a lot of momentum in our business. But for me, most importantly, it was just getting back to enjoying what I was doing and falling in love with the process of building business again.
Hey there, I'm Jeremy Herman, CEO and co-founder of Clarity Now. Listening to this podcast means that you're committed to your career and to growing your business. You're the reason why we created Clarity Now. You see, Clarity Now is the real estate software designed to transform real estate agents into business owners. Now, being a great real estate agent is an entirely different skill set than being a great business owner. That's where Clarity Now can help. Clarity Now is powerful because some of the industry's top real estate coaches built it. We know what insights as coaches top performers need to grow their business. So, do you have a business plan based on your net profit goals? Do you know how you're performing against your quarterly goals? Do you generate a P&L each month? Do you have the best tools to help your team members hit their goals? Are you managing your company's pipeline and conversion reports? Do you have the data that you need at your fingertips to run a successful business? Clarity Now can solve all these problems. Visit us at www.claritynowre.com and schedule a personalized tour to learn more. Mention this ad and we'll throw in 1 month for free. Congratulations on your success, and let's take your business to the next level together.
Sounds like a lot of clear lessons, man, right? Like you got
Clear and painful.
Clear on who you are, clear on what you wanted, clear on your values. We attract who we are, not what we want. And when you got clear on who you were, all of a sudden the right tribe started to show up. Right?
Yeah.
Clear on the expectations that what it's going to take to win in each role, clear on the standards and what you're going to demand of each role, basically, and why it matters.
Yeah, and what I've come to learn is that's not a one size fits all. It's on an individual basis, and it depends on who you are as a person, what's important to you, what you're trying to accomplish, and what the standards that you've set for your life are. And so somebody, might be a perfect fit for another team, down the hall and go out there and crush it with them, but they'd be a terrible, fit for our organization. I see some of these, teams in my market that seem to hire, just about anybody that comes on, and they have a lot of team members on their teams, but their per agent productivity is, super low. And so when I talk to some of these other big teams around my market and around the country, and I tell them, what our production standards are for our team, and like, my God, like, how do you even have any agents left? Like, I can't get my agents to sell 12 or 15 houses a month, let alone 40. And I just decided that I only want to align with people that have the mindset, the work ethic, and the desire for a quality of life that they're going to bring to them and their family, where they need to make X number of dollars per year. And what I found is that the people that didn't have the mindset to accomplish that, didn't have the work ethic to hit that mark, they were my biggest source of pain and frustration in growing the business. And ultimately, it's a choice that, hey, you're the leader, you're in charge, it's your business, it's your life, and you don't have to settle for less than that. And so it's not bringing in 10 agents and throwing all 10 against the wall and hoping that one of them sticks, but rather bringing the one right agent in and throwing them against the wall 10 times until they do stick, seem to be a better model for what we're trying to build for our close, tight-knit team versus, trying to build out a brokerage model of, if I build it, they will come. And if we get big enough, the transactions will go up. Yeah, that was just too much stress and chaos for me personally as a leader of what I was wanting to build. So we're a small, highly efficient team that's held to very high standards. And, we haven't always been, but the last several years we have been. And again, I've learned to fall in love with my business again by taking that stance in our business.
So you love coming back into the office. You love leading the people that are in your world now. Now that you have clear, now that you have values, now that you have expectations, now that you have standards, now you know who you are. It's fun again.
It is. And I would consider, all my team members to be friends. Over the years, I've learned a lot of lessons, made a lot of mistakes in the hiring process, but another, great filter to run things through. And it seems like a no-brainer, but observing what I did and observing what a lot of other people are doing is like, do I like this person, right? Would I want to invite them into my home, for dinner? When I take the boat out on a beautiful Friday afternoon, do I want to bring them along? And if I did, would I enjoy that time with them? And I can say without a doubt that I have a genuine care and concern and invested interest in every single team member that I have. And I think one of the most rewarding parts of my business that I did not anticipate when I started this thing is seeing your people win. In the early stages of growing the business, when we would bring people on, it was generally for selfish reasons. It's like, either I don't want to do administrative work anymore, or I don't want to show houses, or I don't want to work with buyers anymore, or I don't want to make phone calls anymore. And so I'll just hire that person to do that. And all the leverage, again, was for selfish reasons. But I would say the most rewarding part of my business journey would be to bring people into not my organization, but our organization, and see how our culture changes people's lives, observing where they were at when they joined our team, and then watching them personally grow and professionally grow has been by far the most rewarding part of my business. To see people, buying that fancy car when they showed up on day one with a beater, taking the family to Disneyland, taking a month off to travel to Europe, saying that, that they never dreamed of living the type of lifestyle that they're currently living. And just super rewarding as a leader to see. And it's not me, it's a collective of us, because I've surrounded myself with the like-minded people, from the operations team to the agents to the inside sales team that we're working with. we all have a similar worldview and value the same things, and we're all growth minded, and we all push each other, and we all call each other out on our BS. And it's really satisfying to see where somebody's at when they joined us, and then where they're at today from a growth perspective. I can't put to words how satisfying that is, to see the change that takes place in people over the years once they plug into what we're building.
Yeah, by executing and making these changes, it sure seems like you're really learning like how much of an impact like on other people as a leader that you can make, right? It's pretty impressive to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a little cliche, but it's, you change the man or woman, you can change the family, right? And if you change the family, you can change the neighborhood. And if you change the neighborhood, you can change the community. And if you can change the community, you can change the world. And so our whole thing, and I know other teams have adopted a similar mindset, far from a unique thought, but it's the concept of changing family trees. And when I got into real estate, my story, I was at rock bottom of my life, and somebody came along me, my older brother actually, and started passing me books and self-development books, mindset books, things like that. And I was at a bad spot in my life, and I was ready for a change. And once you understand the power of energy, the power of mindset, the power of work ethic, and you see the impact that you can have, that can have on your own personal life. I mean, dramatic impact, night and day, seemingly overnight. You want to share that gift with other people. And so, that's definitely one of the things that's high up on what's important to us and how we define our culture, is that person that's growth minded and always looking to reach for that next level of success, no matter what they've accomplished. So that, they can share that gift with others. Tony Robbins, I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with, coach, thousands of the top, business leaders and athletes and politicians around the world, long list of millionaires and billionaires. And he says he can't tell you how many of the millionaires and billionaires are miserable. And it's not about the money. He tells us that ultimate fulfillment comes from growth and contribution. And what he means by the growth is your personal growth. And the more that we grow as a person, the more that we have to share with our family, with our team members, with our friends, and in our communities. And so for me, that's kind of what it's about now. After you make a certain amount of money and you're living a certain amount of lifestyle, you realize that, that's not where you get true fulfillment and happiness from. It's through pouring into other people and making a change on those that are in your closest proximity. And it's a trickle down effect where, they go on and impact the people in their world as well. And so that's what makes me tick as of today, and makes me want to get out of bed and continue on this journey that we're on.
Yeah, Jordan, man. The interesting thing here is I'm sitting here listening to all this, and the answers are clear to me that what you're actually winning at, truly winning at, is knowing and understanding that it starts with you, right? It starts with you. Put the man together, the world starts to fall into place. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business or on others, right? Like, our business grows to the extent that we do. And if I was to say anything about the relationship, it's knowing that's not easy. All right. That's one thing that you are currently winning at that I know is not easy. It's easier to point the finger at others. It's easier to focus on what's not working. It's hard to work on ourselves. It's hard to go internal. That's hard, right? Like, we make hard decisions, everything else becomes easier. And so, yeah, if that was to summarize exactly what you're winning at, it's that. It's not necessarily a skill set of like, hey, I learned how to go overcome objections. Hey, I learned how to go out and take another expired. The summary of all of this is you're learning how to work on you.
Sure. To get vulnerable here and to be fully transparent, that's a lesson that I've learned more than once over the years. So you operate that way for a period of time, and then, leading by example and, being the type of person that you want others to be. And then you attract that, and then magically you produce these amazing results. But I got to a point where after I reached those amazing results, I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to, kind of sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor, and, built it up to a point where I stopped showing up, the way that I was when I was in a space of massive momentum. And then the business went backwards and I went frustrated. And, I think that you and I do a real good job of, bringing the focus back to, like you said, that man in the mirror. And, the times that I got frustrated and the business, took a brief step backwards, it's when I got comfortable and I stopped, doing the things that I needed to do, stop getting out of bed early in the morning and getting those workouts in to make sure that my energy level was where I needed to be. Stopped going to bed early and stayed up with the wife and watched Netflix maybe longer than I should have, thinking that I had arrived and that the success that I was experiencing was permanent. And boy, was I wrong. That's a lifelong mission. That's not a temporary phase of life. And so anytime I've ever gotten frustrated with what was going on with my team, it was unavoidable that the answer was me and what I was doing and how my mindset was and what my current habits were at the moment. And, that's a lesson that unfortunately I've learned the hard way a couple times in life and business, but with each time it becomes clearer and clearer, what the answer is. And, you can't expect other people to show up in a way that you're not willing to show up yourself, no matter what level of success you achieve. Otherwise, you will unavoidably regress and go backwards.
Yeah. Pretty tough to give what you don't have, right? If you're not leading by example, you're not following through. You're not staying consistent. You're not in your mind, right? Like it just shows up. You may be able to, you hear that phrase, fake it till you make it. I'm like, it doesn't work, man. That does not work. It will catch up to you.
Yeah. One of the most foolish, belief systems that I've had through my journey is, I already paid my dues. I was already out there in 100-degree days, knocking on the doors. I was already out there showing up on people's doorsteps at 7 a.m., dropping off an expired listing or a for sale by owner packet. I already went through that hustle and grind and growth phase. And now it's time for me to teach you how to do that. But I'm going to stop with the hustle and the grit and the growth phase. Now it's your turn. And anytime I did that, it was a complete train wreck. And they didn't care that I had already paid my dues. They didn't care about those good old days stories. That wasn't enough to help them power through in the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month. I had to constantly live that out. And when I didn't, I got frustrated, and the answer was always me. It was never them, although I wanted it to be. It was always
me. Amen to that. So you may have already addressed this. We'll just summarize it anyway. So knowing everything that you know now, Jordan, what prescriptive marching orders would you give to someone who wants to be where you're at today, but get there in half the time?
Yeah. So we did touch on some of this earlier. I'll reinforce just the slowing down part. And, from day one, I would have started with defining who I am. And before I even had my first team member, defining what I wanted my culture to be like and the impact that I wanted to have on others. Would be the biggest one. I mean, as I look to the pain points and the frustration and the stress, much of it could have been alleviated with that. The other piece of it would be to just stay within the model, and hire those administrative people first. You don't want to sacrifice service for sales. And I know that we did that in the early stages of our business by hiring salespeople before admin staff. So staying in the model with the administrative people first, making sure that you're maintaining an excellent customer experience for the clients you serve, because ultimately they're going to be the ones that serve you in your business for years to come if you do it the right way. And, you need, in today's economy, good isn't good enough. You need to have a great client experience in order for people to feel comfortable referring you to their friends and family and coworkers. And so, we dropped the ball on that in the early stages of our business. And then from preserving of profitability in the business, and I would hire that showing assistant first before I hired my first agent, and use them as leverage to show the homes for me, and me be the one that's doing the buyer consultations and negotiating the offer, until it got to a point where I had so much seller business that I literally didn't have the time to even present the offer, work on the offer, or do the buyer consultation anymore. And then just again, common theme, slowing down. And it's one thing to have expectations for people and job descriptions like rattling around in your head, and talk with somebody about that during the interview phase and during the onboarding phase. But you have to do better than that. You have to have that clearly documented, clearly defined, and people need to know day one, year 5, exactly what your expectations of them that you have, and how they win with you. And so I'm go, fast, always looking for the next new thing. But I feel like that would have saved me a lot of heartache if I did that from day one. And God knows where we would be right now if I hadn't made those mistakes in my business. But I'm thankful for it all, because those painful lessons are the ones that you remember most. And, you're able to share those with other people. So hopefully they don't make the same mistakes that I did.
Lots of wisdom coming out of this, man. That's what I hear. Right. Yeah. So this prescriptive marching orders would be: know who you are. Right? Slow down to get clear. Know who your ideal client is, know who your ideal team member is, and know what your ideal model is. You want to get there in half the time. Get clear on those things, and you probably get there in a quarter of the time.
Yeah. And then just understand that, you need to do the right thing day in and day out. It's not enough to do the right thing for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Hustle, grind, do everything that you need to do, and reach a level of success with income, with sales volume, and all. Make the front cover of a magazine or get on a great podcast like this. Success is temporary, and you got to pay your dues day in, day out, or else it can flee you, and it will flee you. And so it's gotta show up, gotta be consistent with the hustle and the grind, because your people are looking to you to lead them, and they're going to model your behavior for better or for worse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just be the very best version of yourself, man, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. I fooled myself to thinking that, I had a business and I no longer had a job, and you always have a job, and you always need to have, those core values on display: the hustle, the grind, the intensity, the positive mindset, and the growth mindset of looking to get 1% better every day.
Amen to that, baby. All right, man, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Not like we weren't having fun already. reflecting on the journey. Been pretty impressive. I love who you are. I love what you've accomplished. I love what you've overcame. I love that you take ownership and responsibility for all the lessons that you've learned.
Yeah. As painful as it may be.
You got a TV show or a movie series that you're currently streaming?
I don't watch too much TV, and I found that my wife really enjoys, after the chaos of getting the 3 young daughters down to bed, that's, some time that we really enjoy together. And so years back, we really enjoyed the series Breaking Bad. And so they did a spin-off series called Better Call Saul. So that's the one and only show that we're currently watching at the moment. But before that, big fan of like Western themes. Yellowstone was a phenomenal show. All caught up on that. And Hell on Wheels was another show that we really enjoyed, talking about the expansion of the Railroad West in America. And those are 2 phenomenal shows that I would highly recommend to anybody that wife and I really enjoyed.
About a business book that's made the most impact on your career?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a business book per se, although I could give you one. More so personal development. And it's a book by Shad Helmstetter, and it's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it's all about your internal dialogue. And, you tell people that you talk to yourself, they think you're crazy. But the reality of it is that we have thousands of conversations with ourselves each day. And the mindset is just an extremely powerful thing. And starting that book, thinking that I had an awesome mindset, made me realize that I had just had so much opportunity. But it wasn't just the new age hoorah, like you got to be positive person. It was actually like the science behind your self-talk and how that can like literally change the chemistry of your brain. And that's probably the most impactful book that I've read. I read it while I was training for a marathon that you actually encouraged me to do. So quick little side story, never a runner before, but 4 years ago, Zuber challenged me to run a marathon. I hadn't run a mile since high school football practice. Here I am approaching 40 years of age. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to run a full marathon, but I'll come and run a half marathon. One of the best things that ever happened to me, and I thank you to that, and I tell many people this story, is that ran the half marathon while you ran the full marathon. And that led to, over the last 4 years, me and my wife running 9 half marathons together. And then we just completed our first full marathon in May. And then I've got a Ironman coming up here in October. The reason I tell you that story, 1, to give thanks for you, 2, to let you know that you inspiring me to do that, got my wife to do that. Now that's a hobby that we share together. And we always do our races in a cool destination spot without the kids. So that's been really good for our relationship, but also inspired a team member that is 50 years of age to run his first full marathon last year, and another girl on our team to run her first marathon. And both of them are going to be doing the Ironman with me in October. Little side rant there, but I picked up that book while I was doing the race training for the first full marathon. And what I learned through that experience is that you obviously become much physically stronger by going through that, but that's not even a drop in the bucket compared to the mental strength and toughness that you get by going through that process. And so that book is all about just your internal dialogue. And if you haven't run a race like that before, there's a tremendous amount of self-talk that goes on, and you simply can't do the training. You can't do the race if you don't have a good, positive internal dialogue. And that's where I grew the most through that race, is just mastering that internal dialogue and recognizing its power, both in life and in business.
Amen to that too, man. Holy smokes. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm laughing because on a full marathon, I'm like, there's absolutely no reason to have, at least for me, there's no reason to have headphones on the last, 6 miles, because that's when God shows up and you spend your entire time with God and with yourself, negotiating every step, every sweat, every minute of that final 5 to 6 miles. That's where everything really begins. It's there.
You're absolutely right. For me, that kicked in around mile 21, and that's who you really find out, who you are. And just such a cool experience. Eternally grateful that you pushed us to do that, because again, the trickle down effect, right? You change the man, you can change the world. Now I did it. My wife's doing it. It's been incredible for our relationship. We've got team members doing it. Now other people in the office are trying to register for races. And it's you want to change the world, you start with that man in the mirror. And we are all more powerful than we are led to believe, by a long shot. So just focus on yourself, you versus you every day, baby.
You versus you. That's right. All right, man. So if you go back to when you were 20, what advice would you give yourself?
Man, I frequently think about where I would be in the real estate business now had I had foregone the college experience, which, to be honest, I really didn't enjoy that much. And I would say I personally would have just jumped right into real estate sales. That, and then just, I didn't figure out this personal growth, lifestyle until I was in my late 20s, when I was at rock bottom in my life. And so I would have, gone down that path a lot earlier, is the self-education path, and understanding that the most powerful and fruitful investment that you can make is the one that you can make in yourself. And so figuring out what your hobbies are, figuring out what your passions are, and then going out there and figuring out the books that you need to read, but also the people that you need to align with that are doing what you want to do, and learning from them. And I certainly think that that's the way the future of education is heading, is doing a better job of helping people understand, what are they on this earth for? What are you passionate about? What are you skilled at? Where are your God-given gifts, talents, and abilities at? And what do you want to do with your life? And then going out there and finding those people, getting coaching from them, getting mentorship from them, plugging into their masterminds on things that you truly care about. For me, college was just kind of a gut check to say, hey, you've got these objectives. Do you have the discipline and habits to follow through, to complete your coursework to get to the end? But very little of it, has been relevant in my business growth or success. So that would be probably my biggest takeaway if I could go back and do it all over again.
Pick one profession. You could pick one profession outside of real estate. What would it be?
One profession outside of real estate. I don't know if you'll accept this answer, because it's tied to real estate, but it's not real estate sales per se. I would be more into investing in real estate, short-term rentals, a lot of long-term rentals and flips. But if you're forcing me to go outside of the real estate space, I lived in Las Vegas for a period of time right before rock bottom. Imagine that, where I was working at fine dining restaurants and bars on the Las Vegas Strip, and waiting tables, bartending. I learned a lot about craft cocktails and just how to prepare really fine dining meals. And so my wife and I have a dream of owning a smaller restaurant with craft cocktails and really high quality food, like tapas style, small plate stuff. So I wouldn't want to manage it, and I wouldn't want to be there in the day to day. I just like to own it and like hang out with the patrons, grab a drink at the bar after a day of work in the real estate field, and just, mingle with the patrons of the restaurant. That'd be something I think would be pretty cool to do. Yeah.
I love it, man. It's been one hell of a journey. Thank you for sharing and walking us through it. And it's, that's it. Enjoy the journey, right? That's what life's all about. We know the destination, so you might as well fall in love with the journey. And
absolutely. And can't thank you and your family enough for being a part of it. We've been together for quite some time now, so long now. I've probably forgot how long we've been together, but certainly over 5 years, maybe as much as 7. So I've seen the smile on your face as we're here on this Zoom call, revisiting some of those pain points, because you've been there for a bulk of them and have provided, valuable insight, wisdom, and a swift kick in the rear when needed, which is more often than I wish that it was. So thanks for all you do and sticking with us over the years. It's been a hell of a ride.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for sharing. Go time with Jordan, baby.
Hey, thanks, Uber. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day.
You too, buddy.